Welcome back from the rest hold, everyone. It's time for us to get into our main event for this episode, which is going to be Wrestling with the Past. Now, I put up a poll on the Mega Maniacs where I was asking you guys, what would you like to see us do when it came to draft kind of discussions or other things? We had a potential retain, repackage release. We had a Smark announce table that were on the table. Yeah, just to repeat that again. But overwhelmingly, the votes went to a combination of the going over option and the wrestling with the past option. And I'm kind of merging them together here. We're going to talk about the brand extensions, mistakes from the past that WWE needs to make sure that they don't replicate in the future. And we're going to talk about the pros and the cons of what a brand split can actually be. The draft is going to be something that's coming up next week, and it's going to change a lot of things in WWE, but we don't know exactly how they're going to change it. They're really kind of being vague, and we don't know if the same rules are going to apply compared to what they used to be, or if they're going to change some things, if they've learned their lesson for, maybe they got to make sure that the rosters are a little bit more balanced, different things like that. So we're going to keep this kind of just chill and sort of bounce things back and forth for a little bit and see what ends up happening. And I'm going to start off with one topic that I think is going to be one of the biggest things that going forward, this could be a huge monumental factor of how successful this could be. Championships. Now, the pro that I can see when it comes to having more championships with a brand split, more people can get titles that they might not have been able to get before. We've had Mark Henry, for instance, as a world heavyweight champion. I really liked Mark Henry's run. I think that he deserved it. I think that Kane deserved to be a world heavyweight champion more than that one-day reign. So that's a huge positive when it comes to it. Negatively, does it mean as much when somebody wins if there's more titles? So this is going to be a topic to bounce around quite a bit here. Peyton, I'm going to start off with you. When it comes to championships and the brand extension and stuff, what do you think? Is that a more of a benefit, more of a hindrance?
It is 100% a benefit if you treat the titles with their own unique identities. And even if you want to have two top titles, you need to keep them equal to each other. And their problem is that they can never do that. And they even went out of their way to switch the titles between the brands to make one seem better than the other. I don't really know how they were trying to get it through that. It didn't matter. The WWE title was always the one they cared about more. Even though that World Heavyweight title had a bigger lineage, I came up with this idea Monday. I think the best thing they could possibly do, just get rid of all the titles. Just fucking erase them all. Start a brand new lineage for everything, and then make new titles for each show. And then everything is on equal ground, where it's a complete reset, and that's how we get everything together.
So you know what? You're right for one specific reason on that. As long as there's two titles, as long as one of them is the WWE Championship, regardless if you make a new title or not for the opposing brand, everyone's going to go, "Oh, the WWE title matters more," no matter what they do.
Mm-hmm. Now, my issue when it comes to switching it up and getting rid of all the titles and stuff like that is it's kind of well, if you're going to have an Intercontinental type of championship and a United States type of championship or whatever, why not just kind of keep them the Intercontinental in the United States instead of calling them the National and American Championship or something, Well,
there's other things you can go on. I mean, one show can have a I don't really like titles that go off of territories because they don't do territories anymore. Mm-hmm. There's no reason, the European title would be freaking stupid to have now.
Right.
Or even back in the day, there used to be a Southern Championship or whatever you might want to go with there. They have no reason to do that anymore. So if you want to have a middle title, I don't even think you need a middle title like that. If you want to have branch divisions, of course, you're going to have your women's title. You're going to have your tag team. I think they want to bring back a cruiserweight division. I think that's a great one you could do.
Cruiserweight is something that's that's a blessing and a curse, because it's yeah, that's a real good thing for the cruiserweight guys to have that. It's a lot of fun and stuff. But shit, you can't have a cruiserweight championship and it's just on SmackDown. And all the cruiserweights are on there. Then it's well, shit, Raw just has all the beefy dudes.
No, you could do something different with Raw. And I wouldn't say give it the women. But I mean, think outside the box here. I mean, you could restart a hardcore division. You could do maybe some type of I don't want to say a foreigner's title, but but I mean, some type of thing that celebrates the international heritage that they've gotten. I'm trying to say it in a more classier way, but that's essentially what it would be.
Something that I was just thinking about now is when it comes to the two like world titles and like their respective brands having their own titles.
What do you want to say about that?
I think he got kidnapped. Someone just dragged him out
Yeah,
the door.
it sounded like somebody just came into his room and took him away.
Yeah, I think that's actually what happened.
All right. Well, if this is used in court evidence later on, then thanks for listening to SmackDown. All right. Well, we'll figure out what's happening with her.
Make sure that stenographer gets that web address.
Yeah, that is Smark out moment SMA. They type fast. I'm sure they'll get it. Well, while Drew's fighting off his captor or any whatever the hell ends up happening, I'll piggyback off of what he was about to try to say about 2 world titles. Now, if they are going to go fully competition mode, and it's like, you guys are equal ground and all that other kind of stuff, they sort of need to have 2 world titles. But I really was hoping that they wouldn't. I really like the idea of just the WWE champion. He can go cross-brand. He has to defend his title by 2 different brands. Like he doesn't get any special treatment because he's the guy kind of a thing. But if they go with a second world title, this is going to be a controversial opinion, but I don't want that gold belt coming back.
No, that thing is really antiquated looking, and I just don't think it has any place in modern wrestling.
No,
I see that belt. It look good. It's
a silly thing, but people are going to think of this. You unified that belt with another one to get the current one. The one you unified to make it still exists, and you bring that back. It's kind of awkward.
Right? And I don't like the idea, too, that what used to be, here's the WWE champion, and here's the World Heavyweight champion, because then that also makes it seem like there's a weight class distinction. And if they don't have the Cruiserweight championship, or a middle ground, like, what is the middle ground? Welterweight?
Middleweight?
Middleweight? How is welter? Where does that go?
Welterweight's 170, middleweight is 180.
Okay, I know welter was around there somewhere. But if they don't have a middleweight, then it's kind of odd that it's the World Heavyweight Champion and the Cruiserweight, if they even have the Cruiserweight. So I want them to go with a different title, maybe even if they need to, just call it the Raw WWE Champion and the SmackDown WWE Champion. There's been an image going around recently of somebody just recoloring the red parts of the WWE title with a blue one. I wouldn't be too opposed to that.
I'd be perfectly fine with that. If you're going, I don't want there to be 2 titles. I think it's really dumb, but I get why they're doing it. It makes their booking easier. But if that's how they're going to do it, that's what I'd rather them do. Don't have this dispute over, well, who's the real world champion? No, just there's a Raw champion and there's a SmackDown champion.
Mm-hmm. And that's also something that I kind of like. If I wish that there was only one world champion, wish that it would just kind of be the Intercontinental and the United States are the 2 main ones. And then not the main ones, but they're the ones that are brand specific, kind of.
Well, you could take an old.
Sorry, go on.
You could take an old school mentality to this and treat the world champion just like the world champion in the NWA did. And the world champion's a traveling champion who goes around to all the different territories. The territories in this case, Raw and SmackDown. And have him go to NXT every once in a while too.
Yeah, that'd be great. Imagine an NXT World Championship match, even if it's not the NXT champion versus him. If we had just Samoa Joe's the NXT champion right now, if Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor, fucking Ty Dillinger, whoever cares.
He just bumps shoulders with the wrong guy backstage and they end up having a match that night.
Yeah, he comes to the NXT and he goes, yeah, I'm just checking out the future. And somebody goes, yeah, well, I'm the future. I'll fucking beat you for the title right now. And he goes, all right, fine. You want a title match? Go ahead and do it. And then he beats the crap out of that guy and goes, yeah, fuck you, I'm WWE champion, motherfucker. Something like that. But, that would be so much better than me than when we're a situation where one of the cons of having 2 titles with a brand extension, we get people like Alberto Del Rio having 7-month title reigns. Because it's well, we gotta have another champion, so let's split it and make the champions not... everybody moves up on the roster with a brand extension. And when we stopped having the brand extension... how good was that mid-card? We had Sheamus, Del Rio, Dolph Ziggler, The Miz, and all that all go into this upper mid-card kind of range. And suddenly the Intercontinental and the United States titles meant so much more because we had John Cena as a champion. And now we're going to get I've been down on the guy in the past, and I think that he's got a lot of potential in certain ways, but somebody like a Rusev, I don't want him being a world champion right now.
Oh, I'd love Rusev as a world champion. Are you kidding me?
I think he's a great U.S. champion right now.
He's the modern Iron Sheik, dude.
I'm not sold on him being a world champion.
He's coming into his own recently. I don't know if you guys have like seen the dynamic shift, but just all his mannerisms, he looks better too. The boots are a huge improvement.
I've always seen the potential in Rusev, and you're right, he's really finding it. I think he is a top tier talent, and he's going to be one of the main heels over the next 5 years. I would not be shocked to see him get a good title reign.
You know what's funny though?
Now. Yeah.
You know what's funny? Just adjusting his finisher to what he did has made him so much more of a beast.
Mm-hmm. Well, just like you said, I mean, he wears boots now, and he looks better.
Yeah, he's doing everything right. Like if there's a guy that could turn around and be like top tier talent, it might be him. But see how the cards play out.
Rusev right now is the best that I've seen Rusev, minus the fact that he doesn't have the heat that he used to.
So again, though, something that affects this is they have a different roster now. They have a much wider range of talent than they did even just 2 years ago.
And we also have no idea who they're bringing up. We don't know who they're bringing back. If they bring back 20 people and move up 10 people from NXT, suddenly this roster becomes a lot denser, and you don't necessarily have these people moving up the card as much. Then you can keep the guys like, we've got like Zack Ryder and Darren Young right now. Perfect examples. These two are fighting for the Intercontinental and the United States Championship, and I'm not as much of a hater of Zack Ryder as some other people, but I do
all hate him.
I do think that he's somebody who he's not the same level as the Intercontinental title's been and the U.S. title. Darren Young, by no means, is ready to be like that prestigious Intercontinental champion. Fuck no, he ain't. He could maybe get there in the future, but, we went through years and years of the brand extension where we had these crappy mid-card champions, and I don't want to see that come back again. I don't want, all the decent mid-carders and upper mid-carders to go into the main event, and to kind of sully that a little bit.
I think that's inevitable. I just hope, the big thing I'm hoping is they don't split the Divas and the tag titles.
Yeah, that's kind of stupid.
That's another huge thing, too, is what are they going to do with that? Because if you split the tag titles and you have two separate tag titles, we don't have a ton of tag teams, and they love splitting tag teams up. Then we're going to get that weird, shitty tag division again.
No, I disagree with that. They'll definitely call people up. They'll definitely sign people. Bring shit. If the Young Bucks were to show up at one point during all of this, I wouldn't be surprised. I would be more upset if they separated the women's, just because it's very, very shallow right now. I'd be more upset at that.
Trying to say women are shallow, Drew? Fucking
I don't know. Some of them are.
Our opinions of them are shallow, at least when it comes to the tournament.
Now, if you think about this, they've been setting up for this for years. Like, they've really been, for lack of a better term, scouting and raiding talents from everywhere. Fuck, they got AJ Styles. Mm-hmm. They actually went and got AJ fucking Styles now.
It better be on fucking Raw.
I think he's going SmackDown.
I think he's SmackDown too.
If he's SmackDown, I'm going to stop watching Raw. I'm not watching both shows.
It's going to be so hard to watch both shows, and hopefully it's good enough that we want to make sure that we can. And we know for sure, this is a guarantee. The section for the next couple months is going to be better than what it's going to be a couple of years from now, most likely. Because it's going to be a new thing. They're going to put more energy behind it and stuff. So we're not going to see week 2 of the draft or the brand extension.
Yeah, and I know what some people are going to go, oh, I told you so, it's a great idea. It's been fucking great these last 3 weeks.
And then it's talk to me when it's a year and a half from now. And then let's see if it's still the same. And if it is, awesome. It could even be better.
So what, you're just going to sit there and be a cynical dork the whole time? Why not enjoy it while it's good?
Exactly. You got to enjoy it while it's good.
I will.
And you can't just say that it's guaranteed to be better. You can't say it's going to be guaranteed to get worse. But more than likely, just by history of everything, and that's not just WWE, but everything, when something's new, people tend to put more energy behind it. Then they get a little bit sour on it, and they kind of let it go by the wayside. And a new project comes up, that gets their attention more.
I am just going to say this. 2016 has nuked my expectations of pretty much anything. Like,
What's the
absolutely
final
fucking
deletion and
anything.
stuff?
The final deletion, AJ Styles comes in, Shane McMahon comes back, Brock Lesnar fights a UFC fight while under contract with WWE. Fucking, like, all this crazy shit's been happening this year.
2016 has been one of the most interesting years in wrestling in a long
A
time.
lot of crazy shit. Roman Reigns getting suspended like that. Like,
Sure, Lola beating his. Never mind.
Not his
technically
wife,
he
his
didn't.
girlfriend.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean, so that's something to preface when we're still continuing on this conversation and stuff like that. But championships are a big factor here. Now, positive that I want to transition to a different thing here, bragging rights. I think that a real big positive of the brand extension is that you do get to have that competition. I remember bragging rights being a great idea of a pay-per-view. You had the Intercontinental Champion versus the United States Champion. That Dolph Ziggler versus Daniel Bryan match was still one of my favorite matches I've seen in the past bunch of years. As long as they don't do it too close to Survivor Series like they used to. I don't know why they thought that was a good idea in the past. But if they can make this like a WrestleMania thing, or they can make it like, I don't know, like maybe they switch around the schedule around a little bit more. Maybe it's like post WrestleMania.
Tony, this is what they're going to do. See, Battleground, I could easily be a name for some type of bragging rights.
Yeah. They don't have to have bragging rights as a pay-per-view. They could just have bragging rights be the theme behind something. And actually, there's something I wanted to pitch to you guys about the idea of bragging
I
rights.
fucking hate it.
I knew you would.
You little
Well, it's
bitch.
going to be that AJ Styles wins every match, but...
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys think about this? Now, one of the biggest problems that we have going into the road to WrestleMania season is if you have a champion as the champion at Royal Rumble, and you know who is going to be challenging them, it's kind of hard to do something at Fastlane or Roadblock where you think that there's a chance that the championship is going to change hands. If they do change hands, it kind of seems a little bit weird that they're doing that at the last minute to WrestleMania and all that. So it's always hard to find like a good thing for the champion to do. If we have two champions, why not do at Fastlane or Roadblock or whatever you want to call it, make that the bragging rights thing. Make it to where the two different champions, they have that like span where they're going to still go into WrestleMania as the champions. They have to lead their teams against each other. So you're getting a big match, but you don't have to try to figure out a way to do title matches and stuff.
You know, they did change the name of Night of Champions to Clash of Champions. They could easily be doing something like this with just give points for each brand when it comes to that stuff. But I do like the idea of that. But I'm more of a fan of if they do some kind of bragging rights thing. Yeah, they can have like these elimination matches at some point. That's cool and all. But champions versus champions is always the easiest way to do the bragging rights thing.
Yeah, you could get the two world champions against each other, the two mid-card champions. If they do have two tag titles and two divas, have them against each other.
Well, Tony, that's very shallow of you. They're women now.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well,
There is
even
a
that,
kind
what
of
are they
like
going to call it? Are they going to call it the Raw and the SmackDown Women's Champion, or is one of them going to be the Divas and the Women's?
Well, I kind of like the idea, but I think I've got something that might work as well. You said put the champions against each other. Instead of like leading a team, have them have a singles match. The winner gets to have the main event at Mania against the Rumble winner.
Ooh. That could be an interesting one.
Because then you actually make that pay-per-view between Mania and Rumble mean something.
Yeah, like the Royal Rumble winner gets that guaranteed WrestleMania match, but they don't have to pick between the two. It's who you're going to face. And they could even be the special guest referee if you want to do something weird. Like, there's a lot of potential for that kind of thing. I think bragging rights is one of the coolest things. And even if we don't get bragging rights, Survivor Series. We're going to get it this year.
America.
Yeah. So I like that idea of the brand competition. That's one like big positive of a brand extension.
If I could, I'm just gonna have to go against you here and say I never really saw the appeal of bragging rights. I mean, you want to talk about lazy writing? Like, why do they have this match? They want to fight against each other. Wouldn't they rather be doing their own thing? Like, wouldn't they rather brag like, "Hey, we beat you in the ratings 10 weeks in a row"? Along those lines.
That is true. In the way that Vince McMahon was like bringing up all this stuff with like social media presence, ratings, with competition, I would not be surprised if they do some kind of thing where it's like bragging rights, Shane and Stephanie are going to play a big part of like, hey, if you fail me right now, then we will give you shit for the rest of the week or month or year.
And Tony, I know when they first started announcing this, one of the things you were just like certain they were going to do quickly was muddle it too much by crossing brands too much.
That's
And
just a one pay-per-view thing, though.
it's still part of that, though. The more separate you keep them, the better. I mean, you're already going to have them converging during the big fours. So
Oh, go ahead.
the better thing to do is just keep them separate. Keep them separate. And you know what? If you keep them separate for like 4 or 5 years, then you can do a really hot invasion angle.
See, I want to keep them separate, but I don't want to keep them entirely separate. I just don't want to see people going on to Raw and SmackDown. Like, I don't want to see them go like, well, we just have a holdover from Monday Night Raw. Our special guest is going to be, I don't know, John Cena popping up on SmackDown. That's where it's just like, well, then what's the point if he's just going to show up? But if you do a pay-per-view and you build it up and it's like you can't even like really have the two people on the opposite teams go against each other. Maybe somebody does like jump the barricade over to the next show and then it's just kind of like, you know, the security comes and takes them away or something like that. For that one pay-per-view thing, that'd be kind of cool. It all depends on how they plan on doing that too. Because, I mean, you can take any pay-per-view and make it shit. And Clash of the Champions, if they go with that instead of Night of Champions, maybe it's just going to be all the championship titles are defended again. Like, that's a little blah, but, you know, I'm assuming that we're going to see some crossover, even for things that aren't the big four. Like, if they do a King of the Ring tournament, probably going to do that at some point again. And that'll be something they're not going to do, like the Raw King of the Ring tournament, the SmackDown King of the Ring tournament, which is another thing, too, is the pay-per-view schedule. I can't imagine them keeping the same schedule if they have separate things, because we're going to have the Raw Hell in a Cell pay-per-view and 2 weeks later the SmackDown Hell in a Cell pay-per-view. That would suck.
I don't think they should have those pay-per-views at all. Fuck Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Fuck Hell in a Cell, indeed.
Fuck Hell in a Cell, fuck TLC, that doesn't need to be a pay-per-view. I don't want to see 2 pay-per-views a month anyway, though, kind of. Like, I don't want to be burned out.
I'm fine with that, because you know what? What I think they should do is they should alternate. Is every month there's one pay-per-view and there's one network special. And it switches off each brand that gets one. So one month Raw has the big pay-per-view and SmackDown has a little network special. Next month it's the swap. I think that would be a good way to keep things hot, keep things so you're not going too long between what you got there. I mean, I think some of the most fun we've had is when they've had those specials in between shows and in short spurts. I think we've gotten to a point in wrestling where the long-term build, it just doesn't work anymore. I think people are just too ADD ridden, us included. I think we've just gotten used to this faster-paced world.
I just don't want to be burned out on content, which is like a double-edged sword. It's like, oh, it's great, we have so much content, and then it's like, you know...
I don't mind long feuds. I just don't want to... You can do a long feud without having the match every month, or the same match every month. There's a way to do it, and there's a way not to do it, and they don't do it.
And a big downside with the roster split, if you don't have the depth of a roster on each show, you get 3 to 4 pay-per-views a month. 3 to 4 pay-per-views in a row of the same matches. Like how many of we did of that Sheamus Alberto Del Rio thing? Or even though I liked it, we had like I think 4 pay-per-views of Christian and Edge, or Christian and Edge, Christian and
Red. Yeah. You know, it was a rough one. It was a while, much longer ago, but Rey Mysterio versus Eddie's feud. It started off really hot, and fuck me, by the end of it, I just wanted to tear my fucking hair out.
That SummerSlam match was terrible.
How about that John Cena versus Randy Orton feud?
Oh, I don't think it ever stopped.
That one wins.
Yeah.
That was like that is another thing. It's like they were saying recently that one of the reasons I want to do this brand extension is because it can slow down their storytelling abilities and that they don't have to rush as much. But don't slow it down to a snail's pace. Don't make it to where it's like, well, we got to spend 4 weeks to build up to a pay-per-view to have the match that we're going to then spend 4 more weeks to build up to a second match, to spend 4 more weeks to build up to a third match. I don't want to see, you know, upwards of potentially 4 pay-per-views or 16 weeks in a row of the same 2 people feuding over and over again.
Well, then this is where that NXT roster comes in handy. That's why we've been building up this talent for months, years now, that they could be called up at any time on any given moment to start a new feud with someone. And
how many do we have that like can really cut it? We've got Rude, which is going between two rosters: Rude, Nakamura, Balor, Samoa Joe,
Austin Aries.
It's 5 guys.
What the fuck is Rude?
Yeah, I mean, there's not. Really
And I'm not gonna. And if any of you say Eric Young, shut the fuck up.
No,
Eric
Young is a mid-carder.
Piece of shit. Yeah.
Well, what about Austin Aries?
Already said him.
out there.
Oh, my bad. I apologize.
Yeah,
I'll shut up.
A good guy. Like, he'll be a part of this, going forward and stuff. And I'm sure they're gonna bring other people in too.
Yeah,
like,
people keep saying like bring up NXT roster. Like some of those guys still need to be built up. There's only a handful of guys that are like you can throw onto the main roster and have them as wrestle in the mid card or upper mid card.
But here's the thing: back in the early days, in the '90s specifically, you just threw someone out there and hoped that they swam and then swing. It's not swing.
Swing.
They swam and swinked.
It's swim sink. That's when they really try to swim, but they fucking drown. But
and that's what happens with some of these people. Like somebody like a No Way Jose, you bring him up now, he's totally gonna swink.
Yeah, but here's the thing: if they sink, you could easily send them down to NXT again. They have this developmental system now.
Yeah, that's probably like a fucking almost a death sentence. Bring them up and down constantly.
Yeah, then you're showing the audience that you kind of brought them up a little bit too early.
Yeah, but fuck, it looks like they're gonna have to do that with Baron Corbin.
Nah, he'll be fine. He's just gonna suffer for a period of his career, and then he'll be fine.
Baron Corbin, and this is something we're going to talk about when we do our review of everything to see how people go or whatever. But Baron Corbin is going to be somebody who gets a big upswing with this.
And also, there's always these rumors of them bringing back old talent or people from like the mid 2000s. There's a lot of feuds that we could have that we didn't get a chance to have back then because they were not in the same company or some of these guys weren't even graduated high school at the time.
And you know what? A lot of those guys got cut because they fucking suck and people overrated them. And I'm like worried about who we're gonna get.
No, well, I don't think Rey Mysterio's or like we don't have to worry about the Hardys coming back anytime soon. But Carlito, they do the Shining Star thing at some point. They got to bring him back, which gives me hope. But I wouldn't be upset if like a dog got upset in the background, but if a Shelton Benjamin or an MVP if he came back, I'm not gonna be upset if these guys just show up and they don't have to win titles or win feuds or anything, but help build talent. They are established stars. They've been in WWE before, so they know all this stuff that goes along with it. They could come back and even teach some of the younger talent.
So here's something there's no transition to this whatsoever. It's just another topic to bring up. Draft episodes themselves, that they can be kind of fun, and we've talked a little bit about this, but let's dive a little bit deeper. Do you guys think that there's any value whatsoever to the draft lottery? Because we're all in the same boat that they need to pick them this year at the very least. But
I fucking hate the lottery.
I like the draft lottery. I just like the episode of it. I will say that with the NXT roster, I don't know how exactly they're gonna go about if they decide to randomly bring Samoa Joe up in like December. I don't know where he goes to. They could easily do a lottery to decide that, or teams could have like a waiver wire, kind of like what we do now.
What if they did something like this? Now, this is not exactly how I would want to do it, but it's a possibility to kind of have your cake and eat it too. What if the main show that we see on SmackDown is them drafting people one by one? Shane says, I pick for my first person Roman Reigns or whatever, and then Stephanie picks, and then so on and so forth. And then they do a supplemental draft, and that's the lottery. They could do something like that on the WWE Network, and it's kind of like, all right, now this is the talent pool that you guys didn't pick from, and everybody's up for grabs, and it's going to be, who knows who's going to go where. And you see like the live reactions and stuff like that. That could be kind of interesting because we know that it's not actually random. They're planning this stuff out anyway. So the rosters themselves, they totally are dependent upon what their plans are. And if they plan on making SmackDown shitty again, like they used to do, where it would be like, SmackDown's got Kelly and Matt Hardy, And Raw's got Mr. Kennedy and Randy Orton and John Cena, and it's like, then those are the bad things.
My attitude to this is make the rosters even from the get-go and get rid of the draft altogether. You want another guy on a different show, you have their general managers trade talent. I do not want to see the draft lottery ever again. Their fucking episodes not only are cheesy, they're fucking boring. I hate them.
You don't want to see like a draft next year?
No, I don't want to see a draft ever again. Other than them picking their first 10 guys and then doing the rest off air, I don't want to see shit.
I know that they could easily do the draft lottery each year on Raw or SmackDown, but they could easily put this as a network special sometime during the week. And not even it just being like wrestling matches, just have Shane and Stephanie in a room and like Vince is there and they just like go over possibilities and then they actually do the draft lottery.
Oh man!
And you know what I hate
how
about
boring it would be if they literally didn't have like the pomp and circumstance and it was just like the three of them in a boardroom and they're broadcasting this to the network and it's like, yeah, well, I want Dean Ambrose. Okay, well then you'll take you Dean Ambrose. And then he just goes like, yeah, sweet, and checks it off a list. And it's like, we're gonna come back after the commercial break, kind of a thing.
One of the biggest things I hated about the draft lottery is that. And this is the reason I'm saying get the brands even from the get-go and then not touch them, is it was such a cheap way for them just to throw a bunch of top stars on one show. Like, if they have that, they're not going to be able to help themselves. They're gonna fuck SmackDown again.
One possibility that I could see going forward, you were saying that they don't do another draft. Maybe they do a draft next year, but it's not that everybody is eligible. It's just here is the talent pool that are on the free market that you can pick from. Like a typical draft. I mean, like NFL, it's not just like I'm going to pick that guy from the Giants. You don't just steal people from other teams. So that could be a different way to do it. They are getting a little bit more sports related. A lot more like that kind of mentality. So maybe they're going to take inspiration from those kind of things. But the draft lottery, it's fun, but it's stupid. So it's kind of a pro and a con a little bit. I hope that they don't do a lottery. Who knows? They haven't even said if they're going to do a supplemental draft. I don't know. Another topic I wanted to bring up here. Variety, more than anything else, is the best way I guess I could put it. When you have people that only interact with the people that are on their brand, we tend to see a lot of the same matches. We were talking about this a little bit with the world title matches that keep going for months and months on end. But I gotta say that's more of a con than any kind of a positive. I can't think of really a good thing to say about having less options. Did anybody have like a positive to say about that?
We would complain about that, but that could easily be solved by doing a draft lottery or just a draft every year of some sort where people could switch sides. It's very simple, and I know Wago hates it, but they did it for a reason, and it gets stale and stagnant at some point, and it makes sense for them to do it.
Peyton, what do you think about the whole variety aspect?
I think that it's good to have variety as far as the shows you could watch. Again, if you have these shows with these separated rosters, you're providing more opportunity for the people that are on it. So you don't have someone, let's say you're a huge Dolph Ziggler fan. Dolph Ziggler never gets a chance to be on Raw every week now. Well, now he'll be able to continue. Or if you're one of those really weird people who are a Zack Ryder fan, maybe now there's going to be a good space for him to be on Raw every week and actually have his theme song played while he comes out to the ring.
And you see, you just gave us a reason why the draft shouldn't exist. Zack Ryder might get a push.
Well, Zack Ryder's already getting a push, so we're not changing anything here.
Who knows? Maybe with this draft he will not get a push.
But again, you're saying there's less options. I think it creates more options in that case. Just like, for years, all we had was a WWE product, and even though they had that brand split, it was still just WWE. Well, now, gosh, there's so many wrestling options. And so for WWE to create as many of their own as they can, I guarantee you that what they put this all together, there's going to be a large contingent of people that exclusively watch SmackDown and not Raw. Far more than there is now, which is probably a very, very minute.
Mm-hmm. It's going to happen with me. It's whatever brand gets AJ Styles. But there is one thing as far as variety goes. I'm kind of like on the edge where, yeah, it's going to present new people opportunities, but you are running the risk of pairing guys up too much. So to counter that, each show should try and give themselves their own identity. Like Lucha Underground, that's so different from anything else you're going to see. TNA, not so much. But yeah, creating your own identity will help with the issue of having guys compete against each other too much.
See, that's cool and all, but you got to remember that this is the biggest wrestling company for a reason. So they're going to be doing what will make them the most marketable and the most possible. And where Lucha Underground, they might be different, but they might be relatively new and they have like their own distinct audience. But remember, they're not the biggest for a reason. WWE is going to stick with the status quo because they have no reason to change. There's no up and coming thing that's going to overtake them in the next couple of years.
Oh, yeah, that's fair to say. I think WWE is a company that's continually evolved.
Well,
They evolve, but they evolve in chunks.
But listen, there's other.
Well, to be quite honest, if you had a product, I wouldn't just turn it up on its fucking head all of a sudden.
No, that's the smart way to do it.
Listen.
Like they added the network, and the network was a great idea. And they're getting into more like, let's do the network specials instead of pay-per-views. Totally smart.
But listen, with the concept of Raw and SmackDown, how they present their main wrestling shows, the only thing different between now and what it was 15 years ago is instead of a PG-14 rating and calling it the Attitude Era, this is called the PG Era. It's catering towards the same audience as wrestling fans, but younger now. There's nothing different between, like, a lot of stuff. They have no reason to change it.
So if they did do something where they made Raw and SmackDown completely different, I mean, Peyton was throwing out the idea earlier about, the cruiserweights being brought into the mix. We were talking about maybe separating the tag titles, the women's championships, and stuff like that. Anybody have like an idea of what they would like to see? Because I can't think of anything really.
Tony, the easy one is Raw is red, so every match Kane is surrounding the ring and he's doing the thing where he lifts his arms up and slams them down, and the posts are on fire the whole match.
No, I think shows are going to have a different feel. I wouldn't be surprised to see SmackDown take on that more sports approach, which it's kind of like what they did before, where SmackDown was more the wrestlers' fan show. But I think they could take it even a step further. SmackDown, I just think, is going to be an easier watch. First off, it's going to be 2 hours, too. That's another big thing.
That's one of my biggest issues with the draft.
It will be live, so there's no reason you can't call it on the same footing. They brought up the head writer from NXT to be the head one for SmackDown as well now. So, or I think exclusively. I'm sorry, not as well. I think you're going to see a very unique feel to SmackDown to where it's not going to be the same show as Raw.
See, I just can't think of a way for them to do it where it's drastically different and doesn't sort of call attention to the flaws of the other one.
Well, I'll tell you what you do. You don't have Kevin Dunn produce both shows.
I was just about to say that. I was about to say, if you want one show to have a different feel, you let somebody else produce it.
Yep. Bring up some of those Full Sail people they've been training for years, which I would think that's the case. I mean, that's what they've been doing this for all this time, right? Like I said, they've been setting up for this for years.
Well, I'm down my list when it comes to pros and cons and stuff like that, so I'm going to open this up for anybody else to throw anything else out into the mix. Any pros, any cons, any mistakes from the past, any things you're really looking forward to?
I think we need to talk about the 3 hour and 2 hour because
yeah.
regardless of how even you split those rosters, Raw automatically seems more important, and it's also going to be more shit.
There's also a distinct advantage with Raw that happens right after a pay-per-view.
That's true. The big issue of having 3 hours, though, if you're like splitting the rosters up even, one roster gets diluted and like people are going to forget about or get pissed off with them real quick.
And if you have 3 and 2 for the hours, then that means Raw needs to have a slightly bigger roster.
Which then,
that extra hour.
And as soon as you do that, one brand's will worsen the other.
Mm-hmm. And then if you add 3 hours to the SmackDown thing, which I think that they're probably going to do, that evens it up a little bit more. But man, that just means we need another hour's worth of talent, so they need to make sure they bring a lot of people in.
One thing that you mentioned about the pay-per-views, how Raw has that distinctive advantage just because it's right after a pay-per-view. If they end up going the idea of pay-per-views are exclusive to each brand, something that they could try out, and I don't know how much it works. I know Monday Night Raw is known as Monday Night Raw, but what if SmackDown was on Monday following a pay-per-view and they just swap it every month depending on which brand has pay-per-view?
It'd be too much of a clusterfuck.
It sounds like
get
it.
Confused a little too much.
Yeah,
They'd be watching Raw and to be like, "Well, this isn't the roster that I'm used to."
But it would be something interesting, and true, a wrestling fan would have to constantly be updated, and it'd be hard for a new person to catch in because it's like, "Whoa, I thought this is Raw. What's the SmackDown thing?" But
yeah, I'm not.
But if it gives a casual viewer who doesn't really watch wrestling too much, a casual wrestling fan who might not watch both shows, he might accidentally start watching SmackDown because, oh wait, this is SmackDown. This isn't Raw. Let's watch it.
One thing I do think that they'll do at some point is, and maybe it would happen if they did do like a bragging rights thing or something, where they'll switch the commissioners for like a week. It'll be like, well, you know what? Stephanie is going to control SmackDown this week, and
Or Tony, even better, SmackDown's gonna invade Raw.
yeah, SmackDown takes over, like that kind of shit. I do think that'll happen, but yeah,
I'm gonna laugh if we get fucking a Raw Super Show in 6 months.
It could happen, man. That's the thing.
Oh gosh! So you remember Brock Lesnar's contract when he first came back? He needed his name to be in the opening. It was Monday Night Raw featuring Brock Lesnar.
Can we have a Monday Night Raw Super Show featuring Brock Lesnar? I'd be up for that.
You know what, though? That's another thing, too. What do you do with the people that aren't really a part of the roster?
Lesnar's on Raw.
I mean, what do you mean? What do you do with them? You draft them because they're going to be hot commodities, especially Lesnar. I'm telling you, Lesnar is going to be a top 3 guy.
He should. But they also have to make sure that they don't make it seem like, well, we drafted this guy and he's never around.
Why not? It's still an attraction to have. It's still one of the guys that equals the most ratings for whatever show he's going to be on.
I would think that Lesnar, they bring attention to. I don't think they're going to bring attention to The Undertaker at all.
They mentioned him on Monday.
Real quick in passing.
They still mentioned him.
I wouldn't be surprised if they did a Shane versus Brock feud and had him on the same show, though. That would be interesting.
I think Brock is going to be SmackDown. Again, you want to make SmackDown look special? Put Brock on it.
You know, actually, Shane's on SmackDown. I would not be surprised if he just drafts The Undertaker. I mean, The Undertaker was the cornerstone of SmackDown for all these years. It would make sense. And plus, it'd be like, oh, yeah.
He would be further down, though. He would be like
old-ass stone.
He would be like 10th, I could see.
I just don't think they're going to bring up Undertaker at all. I think they're going to hope that fans don't pay attention to it.
Undertaker just does what Undertaker does.
He wrestles one time a year for the most part. And it's going to be one of those cross-branded pay-per-views, WrestleMania. So
yeah, he's not... Vince is the first guy to book him in a match in a long time.
Mm-hmm. So I think that they're going to do... I mean, they're going to take care of Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, John Cena, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Kevin Owens. Like, those guys are going to go real quick. And it's not going to be like, we got to make sure that we draft... I don't know, Sergeant Slaughter to make sure they make an appearance.
I don't think Triple H is going to be a part of the draft.
No, Triple H is the corporate guy who just puts on the tights every once in a while.
So they're going to be part of it either.
After Stephanie slapping her little game line, though, it's obvious that they're doing Shane and Triple H if it wasn't before.
Which could be just like another bragging rights type of thing or something, but...
God damn it, Tony, we're not having bragging rights.
We would have fucking bragging rights. God damn it.
And you know what they could do at bragging rights? They could do a big man buffet.
Goddamn right. It could be the biggest man on each side. And then you know what you could do? If you have the cruiserweight title, you could have the littlest men. It could be like I don't know, what would be the equivalent for anorexic something? You know?
Oh, you know what else? They could have
the bulimic buffet.
They could have a multi-tag team title match. Oh, that'd be awesome.
Let's combine all the efforts. A multi-tag team big man buffet title match.
All right. Teddy Long.
And in the world title, instead of like taking the WWE title and putting things in blue, you could put it all in pink.
Then people will look really stylish. But yeah, I do think that the situation when it comes to the drafting the people that aren't really on the shows all that much, I think they're going to just sweep that under the rug. I think Brock's the only one they're going to be bringing up. Even somebody like Jericho, he sticks around long enough that you can draft him.
They would be stupid to not have Brock top 3. I'm serious, top 3. If he's beyond top 3, that is total bullshit.
WWE Championship.
I want to be careful how I use that phrase because I don't want this episode to get taken down for like copyright infringement or anything. But yeah, Brock Lesnar with all the buzz going around him right now with that UFC win. I think it was Daniel Cormier said in an interview that like to hell with Randy Orton. Like Brock Lesnar should be going for that title now. If WWE really wanted to capitalize on what a monster this guy looks like right now, they should be having him go in the main event.
He's actually like follows wrestling really hard. He was actually in the audience for WrestleMania 31 when Seth won the belt. Was it 32? I'll fucking know. But Yeah, he was saying he basically went into detail and went like, "How do you let Randy Orton win? Seems fucking weird."
RKO out of nowhere.
Yeah, fuck man.
Here's something I read a little bit of an article about this, so if you guys want to, I'll keep my opinions real short when it comes to it, but I want to get your opinions about this. Are there any people that you guys think they need to separate? Not tag team wise. I mean, that could be a part of it, but like to throw out a suggestion that I had put out there, I think you need to have AJ Styles and Seth Rollins on different shows.
Why?
Because
why?
they're similar enough that if one show has both, the other one's going to feel like it needs somebody like that.
I feel like they have a lot of guys that fill that role. I mean, you got
I don't think
Cesaro. You
AJ
got
are similar.
yeah. I think you're just saying that because they both got longer hair.
No, it's not just the hair. I mean, that's because I also said like there's
Two totally different characters, two totally different movesets. I don't get it at all.
I think that they're similar enough characters. They're like heels that are kind of calling themselves the best, and there's be a little bit dodgy and everything like that.
So they're every heel ever.
No, not every heel. Because look at the Miz. The Miz is more of a punk, or you got like when Kane was a heel, he was a monster. Like Kevin Owens isn't the same type of heel.
That's similar.
Yeah, but they don't have characters like that anymore. They're all just generic indie dudes. So that's why you're looking at them and you're seeing two generic indie dudes with longer hair.
Who wrestle styles that are somewhat similar compared to like one of them's not a brawler and the other one's a high flyer or something like that. Like, I think that there's a combination of like Enzo and Cass should be on a separate show from the New Day if they're both going to be these lighthearted babyface teams that cut promos in the beginning of their matches and joke about people and stuff like that. You don't want to have two teams that are similar like that on the same roster. Then on the other roster, all the tag teams are all just morose. Like that kind of a thing. Like, is there any kind of combinations you guys think like it makes no sense to have Mark Henry and Big Show on Raw?
You just keep away guys that have feuded recently. That's all. Like, there's no one I really care about, like, where I think they have to be separated. WWE, they're all going to be on one brand with each other eventually.
I tell you, two guys you cannot put on the same brand, and that's Shinsuke Nakamura and Hideo Itami.
Yeah, you can. Hideo's going to sink regardless.
I don't know, man. People seem pretty excited that he's back.
I don't know, but see, then...
Yeah, people seemed excited that Darren Young fucking won a Battle Royal.
Then aren't you just looking at two indie guys that
good for Darren Young.
Yeah, that'll last.
I was thinking that Darren Young and Zack Ryder are going on separate shows.
Yeah, NXT.
There's a couple different pairings. I'll, go ahead and read the article if you guys want to read those opinions about that. But, yeah, I'm kind of tapped out for those kind of things. Anybody else want to bring any other topics up?
I don't want none. I don't want none.
Nah.
Drew, one last chance.
Well, he disconnected from the Skype chat about 5 minutes ago, so you ain't gonna get anything out of him.
Disconnected again. So, Kidnapper that took Drew away. Any other ideas?
I'm gonna laugh if he's fucked up your recording.
All right, guys. Well, that is our main event then. Tell us what you think about what's happening with the draft and the brand extension. What are the positives and the negatives that you can see coming forward based off of what we had in the past and the different things that they are alluding to that they could be doing in the future and whatnot. We're going to know more about this, obviously, next week because the draft is going to happen next Tuesday night. 1 week from now when we're recording this, so we'll give you our opinions about what that draft ended up becoming after that ends up happening, but for now, that's it for our main event. We're going to continue on in our last part for episode number 242 of Smack Talk, which is the Fantasy League, coming up in part 5.